Very good evening, my dear friends. I hope you all are doing good. Preparation is going fine. If you are able to hear me, just quickly give me a thumbs up in the chat box so that we can start with today's session. Now, today's session is basically a test for you guys. In today's session, we are going to discuss the previous year questions which have been asked in the SEBI examination and PFRD examination from this commerce and accountancy portion. So I would expect that you will be super active today in answering all these questions. I don't think, Jeremy, these are the same, but today we are going to discuss the previous year questions. Okay, so I'm getting thumbs up from all of you. It's really great to see you guys again today. And if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe it. And for regular updates and PDF of this session, do join the Telegram channel as well. And we are also having this one-time offer, flat 50% off on all the SEBI courses, which you can avail till 6th Feb 2022, that is till today. So now let's come to the first question and let's see who is able to get maximum questions correct today. Is it going to be Pooja, Nilesh, Neeraj, Suraksha, Nikhil, Nisha, Sonia, Amit, Vinayak, or Tekken Games? So let's see who is able to get maximum right answers today. First question, Tally software is used for. Tally software का किस के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं? Sir, कमाल की बात कर रहे हो. You are teaching us accounting, so this question would definitely be from accounting only. And Sonia, Vinayak, Nikhil, all of you are saying, sir, answer should be option B, and you guys are perfectly fine, perfectly right. So now, Tally software is a very popular software. It's a very popular software which is used for the purpose of accounting. तो accounting के लिए आप इस सॉफ्टवेयर का इस्तेमाल करते हैं. So practically these days जो जर्नल है, लेजर है, आपके जो भी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स हैं, बैलेंस शीट, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट, all of these they are prepared using the accounting softwares. Okay, so now Tally is a very popular accounting software. You will be just entering one transaction into Tally. Suppose you have sold some goods. You will be entering this transaction into Tally, and Tally is automatically going to take it to the ledger account. It is automatically preparing a trial balance, the balance sheet, profit and loss account. Everything is going to be done automatically by this accounting software. So now let's come to the second question. Now this question is not specifically related to your syllabus, but still it was asked in the examination, so let's discuss it. If partnership deed is not there, then how the profit is distributed among partners? You can get all these videos in the playlist Durai Paramesh, or you can simply search on YouTube. Okay, you will get all the videos, don't worry about it. I'm getting the answer as option number D from Nikhil, Sonia. Everyone is saying option D except one answer, which is of option B. So let me just tell you about the partnership. Okay, so previously we were talking about Mr. Jethalal only. So one person was the owner of the business, but we can also have cases where a business is owned by multiple persons. For example, if I start a business with you, I start a business with Nisha. So there are going to be two partners, one me, okay, and one Nisha. So there are going to be two partners. So now if there are two partners, we would have to make a document in which we are going to talk about the relation between the partners, how we are going to run this particular firm, and obviously we are going to talk about how the profit is going to be distributed between Sumant and Nisha in this partnership firm. If we have not talked about the profit sharing, then it is distributed equally between the partners. So Sumant or Nisha equally profit ko distribute kar lenge if it is not specifically mentioned. So answer, as we have rightly pointed out, is going to be option number D. Okay, so now let's come to the next question, and I want all of you guys to answer this one correctly because ye pehle discuss ho chuka hai. Rent expenses were charged to the books of accounts for 11 months, but it was not charged in the 12th month. Which type of error is this? We have discussed about the different types of errors which can be there. Vinayak, Tanupriya, Nilesh, Nadeem, you are saying option number B. Yes, this is perfectly fine. So the question says कि हमने जो rent का expense था, it was recorded for 11 months but not recorded for the 12th month. So clearly it is an act of omission. We have omitted writing the rent expense for the 12th month. So this is clearly going to be an error of omission, and we have already discussed all these errors with you guys. Commission, omission, principal, compensating error, all these we have already discussed with you. So answer is option number B. A simple question, a simple numerical problem. You would be wondering कि sir ने तो इतने मुश्किल numerical problem कराए, but see the level of question which was asked in the examination. Assets and liabilities आपको given है. You have to compute the amount of equity. We have a very simple formula. If you are aware about the accounting equation, so what does the accounting equation say? What does the balance sheet equation say? Sir, balance sheet says कि your assets are going to be equal to your liabilities and capital. So if two figures are given to us, yes, you all are saying, sir, option number A should be the answer. You guys are super intelligent. You are super intelligent. So this is the balance sheet. Here we are given कि assets they are 36,000, liabilities they are 16,000. So the difference, the total of both the sides have to match. So the difference is going to be 20,000, which is going to be your capital, or in the case of a company we can call it equity. So super intelligent guys. Now let's see if you can answer this one. Now this one not specifically related to the syllabus but still asked. Yes, Lokesh, this is the accounting equation. Assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. So now this question is again related to partnership accounting. So whenever there are more than one person in a business, they are going to form a partnership. And in this particular case, the amount which is going to be brought in by each and every partner. For example, in our case, Sumant and Nisha. Okay. So suppose I was bringing in rupees 10,000 and Nisha being very generous, she was bringing in rupees 10 lakh for this particular business. So this is going to be the capital contribution. ये हमारा capital contribution हो जाएगा. And from the perspective of partnership, we have two ways of recording this capital. All of you are saying option number A should be the answer. I think you guys are right. Let's see if you guys are right or not. So there can be two ways of recording this capital. One is the fixed capital method and the other one is the fluctuating capital method. So fluctuating capital method is the normal method. We are going to record the capital in the books of accounts. We are going to prepare separate account of Sumant and Nisha in the books of accounts, and whatever transactions are going to be done, they are going to be done through this account only. Suppose if I have to like get a profit share, if I have to get some interest, so all of these transactions they are going to be recorded through this account only, and so balance of this account is going to fluctuate. So 10,000 was my balance. Suppose my profit share is 2,000. I get interest on capital, let's say 500. So my balance is going to fluctuate. Okay, so this can be one of the case. But suppose Nisha and I agree कि we do not want to disturb our capital balance. Our capital balance 10,000 and 10 lakh, it should remain intact. So in this particular case, we open two accounts. हम यहाँ पे दो account open करते हैं. एक हमारा fixed capital account हो जाता है, एक हमारा fixed capital account हो जाता है, और दूसरा account हमारा जो होता है वो दूसरा normal capital account यहाँ पे बन जाता है. दूसरा हम एक करंट अकाउंट यहां पे बना लेते हैं, और करंट अकाउंट के अंदर हम सारी अपनी जो ट्रांजैक्शन है, दे मे बी रिलेटेड टू प्रॉफिट शेयर, इंटरेस्ट ऑन कैपिटल, ड्राइंग्स, सो ऑल दीज ट्रांजैक्शंस दे आर गोइंग टू बी रिकॉर्डेड थ्रू दी करंट अकाउंट. तो करंट अकाउंट हमारा कौन से केस में ओपन होता है? करंट अकाउंट इज ओनली ओपनड व्हेन द पार्टनर्स डिसाइड देयर मेन कैपिटल इज गोइंग टू रिमेन फिक्स्ड. सो दैट इज इन फिक्स्ड कैपिटल मेथड दिस करंट अकाउंट इज ओनली ओपनड. सो दिस इज हाउ दिस क्वेश्चन वाज टू बी आंसर्ड. Next question, again not specifically in the syllabus. Bills of exchange. You know what are bills of exchange? Now what may happen? So if Jethalal is selling some goods, suppose he sells some goods to Mr. X for rupees 10,000, and Mr. X says to Jethalal कि I am going to pay the amount after 3 months, and for this purpose he writes a bill of exchange. On this bill of exchange he mentions to Jethalal pay after 3 months rupees 10,000, and he is going to sign at the bottom. So this is a bill of exchange, and after 3 months Jethalal is going to present this bill of exchange to Mr. X, and Mr. X is going to pay him rupees 10,000. Okay, now I'm getting the answer as option number A from Suraksha, Durai, Vinay. Everyone is saying option A should be the answer. No one is saying any other option. So you guys have again answered it correctly. So normally one bill is always prepared. Only one bill of exchange is there. But whenever there is a case of foreign transaction, okay, suppose we have to send the bill to the foreign party. तो फॉरेन पार्टी को जब हमें बिल भेजना है, वी आर समटाइम्स रिलक्टेंट, वी आर समटाइम्स अफ्रेड कि द बिल माइट गेट लॉस्ट. So this bill is drawn in different parts. We are drawing bill in 3 parts so that at least one part reaches the other party who is residing in the foreign country. So that's why these bills they are drawn in sets. So that's why the answer is option number A. Okay, so this is mainly relevant for foreign bills. You can also read the explanations which I have included in this file, which you can download from the Telegram channel. Okay, so now let's come to the next question. Again, a test for you guys. What is C? I don't know what is bill in bricks. Nothing. It's just made up. It's just made up. Don't worry about it. Provision of tax is under which subhead in the balance sheet? So remember, balance sheet prepared as per the Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. There is a specific format: non-current assets, current assets, there is equity, there is non-current liability, and there are current liability. And within the current liability and all these, we have different other items. I'm getting the answer as option number D from Sonia, Vinayak, Nilesh. Everyone is saying option D should be the answer. And again, you guys are absolutely correct. So provision for tax. So tax is basically going to be our liability. So for a business, tax is to be paid to the tax authorities. So this is going to be a liability. So you can clearly strike out which options. You can clearly strike out option number B. It is not going to be a short-term asset. Now this tax is to be paid every year to the government. Okay. So every year if any amount is to be paid, if a liability is going to be there every year, it is going to be a short-term liability. It is not going to be long-term. So you can strike out option number A and C. So you have to make a provision. You have to provide for tax which is to be paid to the government. So this is basically a short-term provision which is made in the books of the accounts. So that's why the answer is going to be option number D. And you guys have nailed this question as well. So I believe you guys are going to score really well in this commerce and accountancy section in your SEBI examination. Next question. Based on accounting rules, Sonia, Vinayak, Suraksha, Shri Ram, Pooja, all of you are saying option number C in unison. Debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Okay, remember I told you about the 3 different types of accounts which are there: personal, real and nominal. And also remember I explained you the rules of debit and credit. Okay, the way I explained to you, it was a very simple way because I did not want to tell you about these rules, but now the time has come that I should tell you about these rules. So we have 3 separate rules for personal, real and nominal accounts. So personal accounts, they basically belong to people. Real account, assets and liabilities. Nominal accounts, they are related to your expenses and incomes. So the rule is like this. For the personal accounts, the rule is debit the receiver and credit the giver. So how you are going to apply this particular rule? So suppose you are paying rupees 1000 to Vinayak. Suppose I am paying rupees 1000 to Vinayak. Now Vinayak in this case is going to be the receiver. So I am going to debit Vinayak. Okay, I am going to debit Vinayak. And what I am going to credit? In this case, I am going to credit cash. Okay, so the receiver is to be debited and the giver is to be credited. For the real accounts, debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So in this particular transaction only, cash was going out, so we credited it. Cash is basically a real account. And then debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. This we already know कि जो आपके expenses होंगे, you have to debit them, and जो आपकी incomes होंगी, they basically belong to the owner of the business and they have to be credited. This we already know. So these are the 3 different rules which are used in accounting. So answer is option number C. Keshav Maheshwari, ये question आपके paper में आया. They are the previous year questions which I have picked from the previous SEBI examination. So this is just a PYQ exercise. This is the PYQ exercise. Let me be very clear, those who have joined late. This is not me, this is SEBI who is asking these questions. Yes, Mridula, this was there in the last paper because this is this is a PYQ. What kind of ratio is the current ratio? Sonia, Vinayak, Suraksha, Pankaj, Anupama, all of you have got super duper intelligent. So current ratio कौन सी रेशो होता है? Remember, I showed you this chart yesterday and I told you liquidity, solvency, activity, profitability. These are the 4 types of ratios. And I told you कि liquidity में we are concerned with current assets and current liabilities. So this current ratio is a liquidity ratio. So those who have listened to the last class very clearly, so they would be able to answer it very easily. Okay. So we have an entertainer in the comment section and I believe I have to remove this person. So now very quickly this question for you guys. Current assets are assets which are to be realized within how many days or within a within which period? So this is the question. This is the question, okay? So many messages. So many messages. Okay, so I am getting the answer as option number C. So what are current assets? Current assets and non-current assets. Current assets and fixed assets. This is the classification that we make. This is the classification that we make. So how this classification is made? All those assets which are kept for use for more than 1 year, you are going to call them non-current, and all those assets which are going to be converted into cash, which are going to be realized within a period of 1 year, we are going to call them current assets. And similar definition is used for current liabilities as well. So similar definition is used for both these terms. Okay, 1 year. This, yes, you are absolutely right. Another question, and you guys are also going to answer this one correctly. I'm damn sure about it. Calculate the total machine cost from the following. Remember the costing concept that I told you. Sir, we don't forget things, especially when the examination is very near. Okay, I'm getting the answer from Vinayak, Sudesh, Harshita, Alisha, Nilesh. No, Nilesh is saying D. Except Nilesh, I'm getting the answer as option number C. So whenever you are purchasing any fixed asset, so remember I told you कि आपने LED खरीदा, LED TV आपने खरीदा, and you spent some amount on the installation and all those things, and when your friend asked कि आपको TV कितने का पड़ा, so you added all these amounts and told him the amount. Okay, so similar is the costing principle in accounting. It says कि whenever you are buying any machinery, so all the amounts which are related to that particular transaction, that should be added to the cost of the machinery itself. तो आपने machinery buy किया, setup किया, install किया, all those expenses which are going to be related to it are going to be included in the cost of the machinery itself. So let's total all these expenses. So 15 lakh is the cost of the machine. Cartage is 2000, testing is 18, so total is of these going to be 20,000, and then 25, it means 45, and then 40, 85. So 15.85 lakh is going to be the total, and this is going to be the answer. Answer is going to be option number C. Yes, CA केशव महेश्वरी सभी ऐड हो जाएंगे. तो आंसर आपका ऑप्शन नंबर सी का बिल्कुल सही था. एंड लेट्स सी इफ यू कैन आंसर दिस वन करेक्टली. You have to calculate the cash flow from operations. Cash flow statement. Cash flow statement. Cash flow statement पे बेस्ड आपका क्वेश्चन है. And I'm amazed to see कि आंसर्स अभी तक नहीं आए हैं. No, Abhinav, all these components are to be added only. Don't worry about these. I'm getting the answers as option number B and D, and I think I should explain some things here. Okay, so I already told you कि कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट के अंदर वी हैव थ्री पार्ट्स, कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज, कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटी एंड कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटी. तो अगर मैं ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटी की बात कर रहा हूं, आई एम बेसिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट द नॉर्मल बिजनेस ऑपरेशंस ऑफ माइन. So normally what we have to do, we have to find the cash flow which we have made from the normal working of the company. So it says the company has made a net profit of rupees 30,000. Okay, this net profit of rupees 30,000. Now how this net profit figure would have been arrived? Let's see how this figure would have been arrived. So I would have like put in my figure of sales. Let's suppose my figure of sales is 90,000. Okay, I would have put in my figure of purchases, and let's suppose my figure of purchases let's say it is 50,000, and I would have put in my other expenses as well. So other expenses, let's suppose they are 10,000, so this figure would have been come out to be rupees 30,000. Okay, now this net profit is of rupees 30,000, but then again, out of the sales that I have made, I may not have made all the sales in cash, and similarly of all these purchases, I may not have paid all the purchases in cash. So that's why I would have to make certain adjustments in this particular thing. So that's why I have to make sure कि जो यहाँ पे आपके debtors और creditors आ रहे हैं, तो उसके regarding I would have to make some adjustments, because all the sales, they are not going to be cash sales, and all the purchases, they are not going to be the cash purchases. So in this particular case, what would I have to do? So this, it says that net profit is 30,000, but your collection from debtors is 2,500. So let's suppose if you have made all these sales on credit, let's suppose all these are on credit. So credit sales are 90,000, and the amount which we have collected from debtors, no, we cannot assume all these are credit. This is going to create a problem, and you are going to ask me lots of questions. So let me just like simply tell you guys कि the amount that you have collected from debtors is not going to be reflected here. It's not going to be reflected in this figure of net profit. So this amount has to be added to it. This amount has to be added to it, and similarly, if any amount is paid to the creditors, this amount would have to be reduced from it, because this would not be reflected here. So that's why the final cash flow from operation is going to be 25,000. So this is how we have to solve this particular question. Okay, so this is how we have to solve it. This is like not a genuine problem, not a simple problem. This has sort of a tricky calculation, and I would like ask you guys to remember this formula, remember how you have to approach this problem if it is asked in examination, because it's slightly tricky. Okay, now let's come to the next question. When the company dissolves, which of the following debenture holders have the right to receive? Basically, जब कंपनी बंद हो रही है तो डिबेंचर होल्डर्स को क्या मिलने वाला है? This is what is being asked. लेट्स सी आप इस क्वेश्चन को भी इतने अच्छे से आंसर कर पाते हैं कि नहीं, जैसे आपने लास्ट क्वेश्चन को आंसर किया. आई एम सीइंग कि लास्ट क्वेश्चन के लिए कईयों ने आंसर ऑप्शन डी दे दिया था, बट इट हैज टू बी बी, because all the sales and purchases that are going to be done, they are not going to be in cash. So basically we have to make adjustments for working capital changes. So this debtor creditor is that adjustment that we are making. I'm getting the answer as option number A. Now if I talk about the sources of funds for a company, okay, how the company can raise funds. It can raise funds by equity share capital, by preference share capital, by long-term borrowings, okay, and one of the important sources is debenture. Debenture is basically a kind of a loan, kind of a borrowing for the company. So in this particular case, the debenture holders, they are going to get what? Interest. So it is basically a loan, and on the loan we are going to pay interest, okay, and the principal amount of loan is also to be repaid. So principal and interest, these are the basic obligations of the company towards the debenture holders. So clearly the answer is going to be option number A. You guys are perfectly right for this question as well. Now let me see if you are able to answer this question correctly. If you are able to answer this one correctly. Now let me see if you are able to do it. Let me see if you are able to solve it correctly. I'm getting the answer as option number B, 1.8, and this 1.8 is perfectly fine. This 1.8 is perfectly fine. तो यहाँ पे हमें बोल रहे हैं कि net profit ratio is 5%, so this is net profit by sales. Total assets they are rupees 90 lakh, and the return on assets is basically 9%. Okay, हमें assets given है, and we are also given this return on assets. So basically, what are we going to do here? So basically, if the return on assets is 9%, this basically means that the profit that we have made by using these assets is 9%. Okay, so if the profit is 9% of the assets, how much is going to be the figure of my net profit? So net profit is going to be 90 lakh into 9%. So this is basically going to turn out to be 8 lakh 10,000. Okay, this is going to be 8 lakh 10,000. And now I have to apply this net profit ratio formula, net profit divided by sales. Okay, and this is given to me as 5%. So if I solve it, this is going to give me the figure of sales. And what is going to be the figure of sales? Okay, if I solve it, this is going to be this figure, 162 lakh is going to come out to be my figure, and I have to compute the asset turnover ratio. If you remember in the previous class, I told you the trick कि अगर आपको turnover ratio निकालना है, then the numerator is going to be the sales and the denominator is going to be that particular figure for which you have to compute the turnover ratio. In this case, हमें asset turnover ratio निकालना है, so we are going to do sales by assets. So sale we have computed 160 lakh, assets already given in the question 90 lakh. So solving it is going to come out to 1.8. So this is how you have to solve this problem. All of you who are saying answer as option number B, they are perfectly right. So 1.8 it is going to be. 1.8 it is going to be. Okay, option B is going to be the answer. Mohini is saying return on asset divided by net profit. I'm not able to get what you are saying. 9% divided by 5%. हाँ, ऐसे करके भी आप कर सकते थे. ऐसे भी आपका आंसर ये आएगा क्या? अगर आप रिटर्न ऑन एसेट्स 9% दिया हुआ है और आप कह रहे हैं कि हम डायरेक्टली नेट प्रॉफिट और रिटर्न ऑन एसेट्स को कर ले कंसीडर, हाँ, इससे भी बात बन सकती है. आप 9/5 कर लो डायरेक्टली, उससे भी बात बन जाएगी, क्योंकि आपका यहाँ पे रिटर्न ऑन एसेट्स के अंदर हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम कर रहे हैं नेट प्रॉफिट अपॉन एसेट्स. सो दिस इज अ शॉर्टकट दैट यू हैव टोल्ड मी. ओके, एंड यहाँ पे नेट प्रॉफिट रेशियो इज बेसिकली माई नेट प्रॉफिट डिवाइडेड बाय सेल्स. So this net profit and net profit is going to cancel out. The sale is going to come at the top. So 9/5 we can also do this thing, 1.8. So very good, Mohini. Yes, very good, Mohini. We can also do it this way as well. Very good. Yeah, right. That's why I was telling you, you guys are super intelligent. Profit on forfeiture of shares after reissue is transferred to. Remember yesterday we talked about forfeiture of shares. Shares जब्त हो जाते हैं अगर कोई पेमेंट नहीं करता. आई थिंक विजय के हमने शेयर्स फोरफिट करवाए थे yesterday, and maybe Vijay is not here today because his shares got forfeited. All of you are saying option number D. Everyone is saying option number D as the answer. So I already explained to you that this is basically a capital profit. This is not a normal profit. This is not a revenue profit. And these kinds of capital profits are transferred to a separate account, which is your capital reserve account. So answer is option number D. Right. Oh, Vijay is here. So next question. Accounting Standard 11. I hope you guys remember. Remember we bought an iPhone from Mr. June. So you have to apply those logics here. So let's see who is able to apply those logics correctly. Let's see who's able to apply those logics correctly. You can reach us on the official number which is given here. Keshav. Lokesh is saying option B has to be the answer. Lokesh, please read the question carefully. We are told for 11-12 and 12-13. So for both these years we have to compute. Okay. So 11-12 की अगर मैं बात करूं, if I talk about 11-12, there is basically a loss because the price of dollar it has increased. And here I don't think Vijay it is allowed, but still I'll confirm it for you if you want me to do. Okay, so in this case the price of the dollar it has got dearer, यानी कि dollar आपके लिए expensive हो गया, it is going to be a loss for you. How much loss you are going to make? Rupee 0.4 here and rupee 0.5 here. So total 0.9 का loss you are going to make. Okay, so you are going to make a loss of rupees 0.9 per dollar. All of you are now saying option C should be the answer. So total loss is rupees 0.9 per dollar, and हमने purchase किया था, the purchase amount it was $1 lakh. Okay, so $1 lakh के context में if I try to compute the loss, so for $1 lakh the loss is going to be, how much it is going to be? 1 lakh into 0.9. So 90,000 is going to be my total loss. Okay. So this is how 90,000 is going to be the loss. All of you are saying 50,000. I think you are only computing from 12-13 and not for 11-12. So basically we have to total the losses in the 2 years 11-12 and 12-13 because this is what the question is asking us to do. Okay, and you guys can like calculate it. Up 1 lakh se multiply karke you can calculate the exact amounts, but I have like only done 0.4, 0.5 like this only to make my calculation easier. Okay. Yeah. So this is going to be 90,000. All of you are now saying 90,000. Yes, this 90,000 is the answer for this question. Moving on to next question. Long-term borrowings maturing in the current year are shown in the balance sheet under which head? Yes, Mohini. Mohini is intelligent. Always there to tell me shortcuts. लॉस है क्योंकि डॉलर महंगा हो गया ना केशव जी. I'm getting the answer is option number D from Sonia, Vinayak, Pankaj, Pooja, Anupama, Anuradha. All of you are saying option number D. So if I had taken a loan, okay, but this loan is going to mature in the current year. So if this loan is going to mature in the current year, this is basically going to be my current liability because iski payment I have to make the payment within this year only. So this is going to be my current liability, and that's why it is shown. It is going to be shown under the current liability head. Why some of you are saying option number C? It is said ki maturing in the current year. So do remember this thing. The current maturity of the company's long-term debt refers to the portion of liability that is due within the next 12 months. Okay. So as this portion is coming due within the year, it is basically removed from the long-term liabilities and it is classified as a current liability. Okay. So do remember this thing. So that's why answer is option number D. Borrowing आपका loan हुआ, it is a long-term loan. But now this loan is maturing in current year. So now this has become your current liability. Okay. Just understand the concept behind it. Anything if you have to make payment in the current year, it is your current liability. So even if it is a long-term loan, if it has to be repaid in the current year, you would classify it as a current liability only. Okay, Mohini? Right, right. Anuradha is right. Current liability, I already told you ना कि current liability के अंदर आ जाएगा. It is basically going to be a current liability. Now let's come to the next question. Which of the following is not a component of cash flow from operations? शॉर्ट टर्म बोरोइंग भी तो आपकी करंट लायबिलिटी में ही आएगा ना. ओके अनुपमा. आई एम गेटिंग द आंसर इज ऑप्शन नंबर डी. Which of the following is not a component of cash flow from operation? So I've already told you guys that we have three main components in cash flow statement: operating activity, investing activity, and financing activity. Okay, now your trade payables and debtors, they are basically related to your normal operations. But if you are paying to supplier for machinery, this is not going to be operating activity, this is going to be an investing activity. Okay, you are investing in a machinery, this is going to be an investing activity. So that's why answer is going to be option number D, and you guys have answered this one correctly. All of you have answered this one correctly. Nakul, क्या कर रहे हो यार? Mohini, what are you doing? Option A का आंसर अब क्यों दे रहे हो? ऐसे मत करो यार. If anything is not clear, you can always ask me. Don't worry about it. Yes, any long-term borrowing, if it is maturing in the current year, it is going to be a current liability. So here we have the PFRDA questions. So SEBI के अंदर जो previous year questions accounting के थे, that we have discussed. Now we are coming to the PFRDA previous year questions which are there from the Commerce and Accountancy portion. And let's see if you can solve this one correctly. A very similar question that was discussed yesterday. Very similar to it. Mayank is saying option A. And Kiran is saying D. Pankaj is saying E. So what are you guys doing here? So we have an employee stock option which has been offered to an employee at rupees 75 and the market value of the share is rupees 90. So remember yesterday, I don't know whose name, I think Ashish का नाम लिया था, है ना? Ashish, I don't remember. चलिए आज कोई नया नाम ले लेते हैं. Which name should we pick today? Let's pick Vinay's name. Okay, let's pick Vinay's name. So Vinay is joining a company. And as a part of the compensation package, company is saying that we are giving you this option that after 3 years you can buy the shares of a company at rupees 75. Okay, and now the market price of the share is rupees 90. So company has given Vinay this option. This option is given at rupees 75 and now the market price is rupees 90. Now let's think from the company's perspective. The company's accountant, the accountant of the company is wondering that my boss, it has told Vinay कि we are going to offer shares to you at rupees 75 only. We are going to suffer a loss of rupees 15. So this loss of rupees 15 has to be accounted for in my books of accounts. So basically he is going to plan how this loss is to be recorded. Basically this loss is spread over a period of 3 years because this tenure of 3 years has to be like passed by Vinay to be able to exercise this particular option. So this is how accounting is to be done. And if you remember yesterday I told you कि आपको option का intrinsic value निकालना था. So this intrinsic value is one way to find the value of the option, and the intrinsic value, what was the intrinsic value? It was the difference between the market value and the offer price. This 90 minus 15, this 15 is basically going to be the intrinsic value. Okay, so यहाँ पे हमें books of accounts में record करना है. We have to record it in the books of accounts, and from this perspective rupees 15 is going to be relevant. Okay, accountant is basically going to be concerned with rupees 15. After 3 years, what is going to be the price? Accountant does not know. So यहाँ पे the fair value of option which is to be recorded, it is going to be rupees 15. So that's why the answer is going to be option number C. Okay, because the accountant is going to be concerned with rupees 15. Now let's come to the next question, a very easy one. A company has outstanding preference shares of rupees 15 lakh, and out of these rupees 9 lakh is to be redeemed using divisible profits, and the rest is going to be by issuing equity shares having a face value of rupees 8. Find the number of equity shares to be issued. Sonia is saying option B. It's a very easy question. Rishabh is also saying option number B. So 15 lakh we have to redeem and 9 lakh using the profits. So balance 6 lakh by issuing the shares. So one share is of rupees 8. So total shares to be issued, they are going to be 75,000. Vinayak, Nidim, Shri Ram, Nisha, Anupama, Nakul, Tanu, Pooja, you all are right. 75,000 is going to be the answer. 75,000 is going to be the answer. Now let's come to the next question. Again, a similar question discussed with you guys. Try to remember about Accounting Standard 2, which tells us cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. Whichever is lower. We have to follow the conservatism concept. We have to be prudent. 21 ka answer. Indu, Vinayak, Rishabh, Shivam, they are saying option B should be the answer. So the company has purchased 50,000 units at rupees 2. So cost is going to be how much? Cost is going to be rupees 1 lakh. The market price is rupees 0.9 per unit. Now if the company is going to sell them, it is only going to recover how much? 50,000 into 0.9. That is rupees 45,000 is only going to be recovered. So cost or NRV, whichever is lower. So rupees 45,000 is going to be the amount of the stock which is to be recorded as per the Accounting Standard 2. So answer is going to be option number B. Okay. Right. All of you are saying option number B. Next question. Let's see if you are able to answer this one. A tricky one. (22) का आंसर्स मेरे पास आ रहे हैं. सोनिया एंड ऋषभ, दे आर सेइंग ऑप्शन नंबर ए. So now it says payment of interest and dividend by a company which is engaged in providing financial services. Okay. Now the core operation of this company, is what? It is financial services. And it says it is going to be classified as which activity in the cash flow statement. So now this is going to create a problem for you. Whether it is going to come under the operating activity or investing or financing activity. In which head this is going to come? Lokesh is saying C 100%. Some are saying A, and there is a confusion between A and C. You know, this question should have been more clear. This question should have been more clear. Let me explain to you guys. Yes, answer is option number C. But there should have been more clarity in regard to this question. How more clarity should have been there? Let me explain to you guys. Let's understand the concept behind this particular problem. Okay, so there can be two types of companies. One, financial services company. Okay, now these financial services companies, they are basically going to be involved in making loans. They may be taking some loans. So this is going to be the basic operation of the company. It may make some investments as well. Okay, so this is going to be my financial company, and other one is going to be my normal company or the non-financial company. Now if I talk about a non-financial company, we are absolutely clear कि operating activity, investing activity, financing activity, these three are there. And if we have raised some money for the purpose of financing our operations, this is basically classified as a financing activity. So any interest and dividend is going to be a financing activity. Okay, now let's talk about a financial services company. Now this financial services company, now this company is basically going to have income in the form of, this is not going to sell any goods or services. This is basically going to collect the interest income or the dividend income on the investments that it has made. So this is basically going to be its operating activity related to its operations. Similarly, in the normal course of operations, it may have taken some loans for the normal working of the company as a part of the normal operations of the company. So interest paid on those could be classified as an operating activity as well. But do remember, even if it is a financial company, there may be some shareholders, there must be some shareholders who have invested money in this financial company. So this company has also been set up by the money which has been obtained from the shareholders. So any money which is obtained from the shareholders for the purpose of running the company, this is basically a financing activity. This is basically always a financing activity. No company can run without this money. We cannot omit the financing activities entirely. So the payment of dividend would be done to the shareholders of this company, and the shareholders, they have basically financed this company. They are making sure the company, it keeps on working. So this has to be a financing activity. So dividend paid has to be a financing activity, but this interest which has been paid, it has been classified as operating as per, has been classified as financing as per this question, but it may also have been operating activity. So this clarity should have been there. This clarity should have been there. Dividend paid is always going to be a financing activity, okay? Dividend paid is always going to be a financing activity. Just remember this thing. Any dividend paid to the shareholders, it is always going to be a financing activity. Yes, I can understand. I can understand the confusion. I can understand the confusion you guys are having, and I know this question should have been more clear. If it was only payment of dividend, we could have easily marked out the answer. But यहाँ पे they have mentioned interest, and this is typically confusing some of us, including me. Yeah. So this question should have been more clear. So let's blame it on the question. Let's understand the concept behind this particular problem. Let's understand ki financial or non-financial enterprises, how they are different. And also remember ki dividend paid is always a financing activity. Dividend received can be an operating activity. Interest received can be an operating activity, but dividend paid is always a financing activity. Yes, Abhinav has got it. Great. Vartika is saying D should be the answer. Vartika, ऐसे क्यों बोल रहे हो? Why are you saying like this? If it is still not clear, just let me know in the chat box. Let me know in the comment section. If it's still not clear, if it's clear, just put a thumbs up in the comment section so that I can know that you have understood this thing. You have understood the difference between a financing and a non-financing company. So there are companies which are basically lending money. They are basically investing. इधर से पैसे लिए and उधर पैसे दे दिए. Banks are doing these kinds of things. Okay, so bank is basically going to have all these kinds of operations. It is taking loans, it is taking deposits, and it is also making loans. So interest is being received, interest is being paid as a normal part of the operations of the bank. So that can be operating activity. But dividend which is paid to the ultimate owners of the bank, shareholders of the bank, it always has to be a financing activity. And I'm happy to see lots of thumbs up here. I'm really, really happy to see the smile on my face only because of you guys. Great. So now let's move on to the next question. Next SEBI exam. Mohini, let's concentrate on this one, the present one. Keshav has a rebuttal for it. 29th Feb. Yeah, Monu, agar interest paid hota, if only interest paid would have been there and not dividend paid, then we would have classified as operating. Yeah, but dividend paid is there, that's why financing. Okay. Sonia, Nadeem, Rishabh, Vinayak, Suraksha, all of you are saying option number B. So we have already talked about the liquidity ratios. So liquidity ratios, they are basically concerned with your current asset, current liability position. And if you remember yesterday, we also talked about the liquidity ratio. Apart from the current ratio, we talked about this liquidity ratio, which is quick ratio. Remember this quick ratio, जिसमें हमने current assets में से we reduced the amount of the prepaid expenses and inventory. Now this quick ratio, it is also known as the acid test ratio. Okay, this is also known as the acid test ratio. So acid test ratio is again a liquidity ratio. Okay, so that's why answer is going to be option number B. It is a type of liquidity ratio. So you should be aware about the classification. Okay, Mohini has not yet filled the examination. Maybe next year the vacancies are going to come, so you can fill that time. Now, next question, and I want all of you to answer this one correctly, because yesterday we have discussed a very similar problem. Mono classes are conducted at 6 p.m. daily for the SEBI examination. Though I think this is going to be my last session, but other faculties, they are going to be connected with you guys, and you are going to have other sessions at 6 p.m. daily. So you can connect then. I'm getting the answer as option number A from Rishabh, Vinayak, Tejaswita, Tanu, Anupama, Vinay, Lokesh, Anuradha. All of you are saying option A. EBIT to sales ratio. Remember yesterday I told you कि EBIT is basically your operating profit. Okay, and profit divided by sales. These are all profitability ratios. Operating profit divided by sales. This is going to be my operating profit ratio. And do remember, operating profit ratio and operating ratio, they are two separate things. अगर मैं operating ratio निकाल रहा हूँ, तो basically I am talking about my operating expenses and not my operating profit. Okay, so if I am being specifically asked about the operating profit ratio, I have to consider the operating profit. So here the answer is going to be option number A. Option number A. No, ROE is not equal to EPS. ROCE is basically your return on investment, but ROE is return on equity. ओके, सो इक्विटी के लिए जो अमाउंट यहाँ पे हमारे पास अवेलेबल होगा, सो प्रॉफिट आफ्टर ऑल टैक्सेस एंड प्रेफरेंस डिविडेंड्स डिवाइडेड बाय द इक्विटी इन द कंपनी. सो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी योर रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी. लोकेश, ओके मोहिनी, इट्स गुड टू सी यू हियर. So that's how you're super intelligent, huh? We have solved this question. Let's come to the next one, question number 25. And we guys are super quick today. We have solved so many problems today. We have to compute the average age of receivables. If you remember yesterday, I explained to you the debtor turnover ratio, and the average collection period. This average collection period is basically what you have to compute in this problem. We'll talk about it later on, Lokesh. Okay, let's discuss this one first. 25C. Everyone is saying option C should be the answer. So let's try to solve it. So debtor turnover ratio, we already discussed yesterday how this ratio is computed. So this is basically your credit sales divided by your average accounts receivable or average debtors. So this is basically going to come out to 6 times. And remember, I think the figures are also same. I told you if there are 360 days in a year, what is going to be my average collection period? So dividing it by 6, it is going to come out to 60 days. So my debtors normally they remain for 60 days only. So this is my average age of receivables. In 60 days, I am collecting money from the receivables. So this is the normal age of the debtors. So that's why the answer is option number C. Exactly same as the question we discussed yesterday. Yes, Nadeem. These are all PF, RDA, PYQs that we are discussing now. Earlier we discussed SEBI PYQs and now we are discussing PF, RDA, PYQs. Relating to commerce and accountancy. Next question. As per accounting standard 10, property, plant and equipment, depreciable amount of an asset should be allocated on a dash basis over its useful life. ROE is basically your EBIT upon capital employed. I think you're talking about no PAT. Let's not discuss it today here on this platform because it may confuse other students. I'm getting the answers option number C from all of you. Everyone is saying, yes, Mohini, you will get the PDF in the Telegram channel of EduTap. Everyone is saying systematic basis. So you can easily make out that ad hoc basis is not going to be the answer, irregular basis is not going to be the answer, random is not going to be the answer. So the depreciable amount of an asset. Remember, when we bought furniture of rupees 1 lakh, we were allocating this 1 lakh over a period of 5 years. So it is to be done on a systematic basis. You cannot just do it randomly. You have to do it on a systematic basis. So answer is going to be option number C. Ad hoc basis. How should I explain ad hoc? Ad hoc का मतलब है temporary. You know, some ad hoc vacancies are sometimes there. You may be appointed on ad hoc basis. Yes, elimination method से solve कर सकते हैं. Ad hoc is nothing. Okay, it's just a made up option, just to confuse you guys. It's not related to accounting. It's normal English. Operating profit ratio and operating ratio. Nisha, operating ratio talks about operating expenses and operating profit ratio talks about the operating profit. So that is the difference. I'm getting the answer as option number D from Rishabh, Anupama, Vinayak, Shubham. All of you are saying option number D, deferred tax liability. So deferred tax liability is this concept I'm not going to discuss today because it's going to get real confusing here if I discuss this concept. I'm just going to show you the format of the balance sheet. I'm just going to show you the format of the balance sheet which we have already seen. तो आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं on one side equity and liabilities and on the other side we have the assets, and here we have shareholder fund, share application, money against allotment, non-current liability and current liability. So short-term borrowing, trade payable, short-term provision, all of these, they are current liability. But the deferred tax liabilities, this is basically a tax liability which has been deferred. This may be because some items, they have different treatment in the income tax law. So income tax law we do not need to cover, so that's why I'm not discussing it here. Some items, they have different treatment in the income tax law and the company law. For example, company law tells us to levy depreciation on a different basis and income tax law tells us to do it on a different basis. So if we compute our tax liability as per the accounting figures, it is going to be different. As per the income tax figures, it is going to be different. So to make up for this difference, we have this deferred tax liability, or sometimes we also have this deferred tax asset. It is not a short-term item, it is not a current item, and it is shown as a non-current liability or non-current asset. Okay, so that's why this answer is going to be option number D. Short-term borrowing, trade payable, short-term provision, they are a current liability. They are a current liability. Okay, just remember or liabilities. Nothing much to be remembered. So here we come to the next question. Keshav, let's not get confused about these. It's specifically mentioned in the format that you have to classify it as a non-current item. Okay, so you cannot go beyond the law. If the law says to put it as a non-current liability or asset, you have to do it, Keshav. Especially being a CA, you should follow the law. Dash are investments which by their nature are readily realizable and are intended to be held for less than a year from the date when such investment is done. And with this question, I want you guys to tell me which accounting standard is related to investment. Which accounting standard is related to the investment? All of you are saying option number A, and I know all of you are absolutely correct because it was a very easy question. Current investment, similar to current asset, it is going to be readily realizable, convertible into cash within a year. So that's why the answer is going to be option number A. I'm still waiting for the accounting standard, and now Sonia, Vinayak, Vartika. I should give credit to Sonia and Vinayak only. Others, I believe they are just copying it, na? No, every one of you are right. I know in my heart all of you remember this thing, कि accounting standard 13 is related to the investment. So current investment, short term, less than 1 year. Long term investment, it is going to be any investment which is for a longer period. Okay, which we have made for a longer period, for more than 1 year. So that's why the answer is option number A. So guys, this was all about our discussion for today. And आज तो I think कि हमें पता ही नहीं चला how the time it passed. It was really great connecting with you guys in all these 4 sessions. You have been really a good audience. It was really good to connect with you. You are really good learners and you know a lot of things. And I wish you all the best for the upcoming examination. And if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, do subscribe to us. And you can also follow us on Telegram. You can join the Telegram channel as well. Most welcome Nadeem, Tech and Games. No sir, क्यों बोल रहे हो? A return on investment EBIT by capital employed. Yes, you are right. Earning per share is the net profit which is available for shareholder divided by number of equity shares. Yes, you are right, Lokesh. Thank you, Vinayak. It was really great connecting with you guys. Most welcome, Nikhil, Indu, Shri Krishna. Okay. Most welcome, Ashwini, Ravi, Mohini, Raj. Most welcome Shriram for this compliment. If I have been able to make all your concepts clear, this is a really big achievement for me as well. Most welcome. Most welcome सोनिया, किरण, नकुल धन्यवाद कर रहे हैं. आपका भी धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. ऑपरेटिंग रेशो का सिंपल फॉर्मूला बता दूं क्या? अगर आपका ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट रेशो जो है, लेट्स सपोज ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट रेशो इज 30%, then operating ratio is going to be 100 minus 30%, 100 minus operating profit ratio. So operating ratio is going to be 70%. Okay, so this basically means कि जो आपका operating profit ratio होगा, and if you add it to the operating ratio, the total is coming out to be 100. Okay, out of the total sales that you have made, one part is going to be your operating profit and other part is going to be the operating expenses. So if you are going to add these two, this is basically going to give us the figure of sales. Okay, so if you are considering operating expenses and sales, this is going to be your operating ratio. If you are considering operating profit and sales, it is operating profit ratio. Okay, I hope Ravi is clear. Return on capital employed. So whatever capital employed is there in the company, so we are basically trying to compute the return on it. So the formula is very simple. Earning before interest and taxes divided by the capital employed, which is going to include your debt as well as equity. Thank you, Vijay. Yeah, tomorrow there is going to be a session of, I think, costing session hoga kal aapka. Maybe Anchit sir is going to take it. So you should definitely tune in tomorrow as well at 6 p.m. एंड या रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी का फॉर्मूला, तो इक्विटी के लिए जो रिटर्न होगा, यानी कि आफ्टर सब्ट्रैक्टिंग इंटरेस्ट एंड ऑल अदर थिंग्स, you are going to take that particular income and you are going to divide it by the equity. Okay, most welcome Ravi, Ashwini, Shivam. It was really great to connect with you guys, and now I think I should end this particular session. So bye guys, take care, all the very best. Most welcome Neeraj.